what you do. What is the city? What does assessing do, and how does that play into people's lives?
Sure. So, in our realm of responsibilities, the main thing is to inventory all the property, all the land, the buildings, the personal property that sits within the city, and value it. And we have to do that valuing very carefully and in accordance with law. But our main responsibility is to make sure that each property is paying its fair share, or is valued at its fair share, as we go through the different types of properties.
Okay, so the follow-up question is, how do things fare right now? Where did because this changes from year to year, correct?
Yeah, it changes every year without question. We study the market, the sales that do occur, and we make our decisions on valuations based on what we've seen the market do in the past. So we don't look to the future and guess. We are simply studying what did happen and using that as our baseline for our assessments. And we're required to keep our assessments as close to true market value as we can. There's laws on the book that require us to stay above 70% and no more than 110%. And here in Presque, we strive to stay in the mid-90s all the time. So we make adjustments as needed yearly to maintain that level of assessment.
Where are we right now?
We've just doing our work, and we're coming in at 95 and 96%, which is ideal.
So tell me a little bit about, I guess, for those that may not realize, how important is this, and how does this play into quality of life and for everyone, our goods and services, and for things for us as a community to do well?
First of all, the level of the assessments aren't what drives taxes. The level of assessment staying in the high range, close to 100%, just assures that everybody's getting taxed equally based on the value of their property. The money part, the taxes are all driven by money being spent by the city. If there was no money being spent, there would be no taxes. But that's just not the way it works in the world today. And part two, of course, is that government has to raise money to provide the services that it provides through taxation. That's the only source.
Well, that kind of brings to the follow-up question. If there was one thing you'd want to clarify, or people kind of assume and they misunderstand, what's the one thing you'd love for the public to understand?
Well, number one, the assessing office doesn't have any reason or any goal of increasing taxes. We never do that. Taxes are a result of the money being spent by the city. No question.
Tell me a little bit about, I guess, and it doesn't solely fall on you. There's a team here. Explain that.
Absolutely. The assessment department here in the city is made up of 3 people. The other 2 folks, Sigrid and Maria, very, very, very competent. Maria especially, very experienced, been with the city almost 40 years. And we work as a team. We do the assessing here. We also provide services for 11 other communities outside of the city.
Really?
Yes, we do. We couldn't have a better team as far as I'm concerned.
That's something people probably didn't know, is that you're not just tasked with Presque, you're doing other communities as well.
5 years now, we've been providing assessing services to communities that don't have an assessor. And we do it at a very reasonable rate, and I think we do it quite efficiently.
You mentioned that she's going on 40. How long have you been here, and how did you get into this? How does one become an assessor?
Interesting trail, no question. So I started out in the municipal government as code officer, and working for one of my previous employers. The assessing position came open, and there was a struggle to get filled, and the manager came to me and he said, "Why don't you look at this?" And there we went. It was an awesome move, and I'm very, very pleased with the outcome.
As we are.
It's going well. So it's fun work if you have the right attitude, and you have to have some thick, heavy shoulders. You really do. But it's very, very enjoyable.
We talk about workforce development and opportunities in industries here that for the next generation. For someone who maybe want to follow in your footsteps, what does it take to become an assessor, and what are some of the skill sets?
A little bit of math, a lot of common sense, a little bit of people skills. You have to be able to deal with the public. You have to be able to measure do things accurately. The math is not overly complicated, but there is a fair amount of it. But it's fun stuff. We encourage people to look at this line of work, and people who get into it tend to stay into it, and we know that. When we go to the assessors meetings, there's a lot of hair this color. But there's a lot of new folks too, so it's rewarding. There is an exam to earn certification, and it is difficult exam. That's intentional. There's no free pass here, but once you get past that and get out into the field and gain some experience, this work is fun.
How has technology kind of evolved, and how has this industry and your specialty kind of changed and evolved with technology, or has it?
Oh, it has, no question. We absolutely have what we call CAMA, as computer assisted mass appraisal, which is what we really do, is a mass appraisal of all the properties into one database. We have systems that work and do a lot of the work behind the scenes once they're set up. So we have to set pricing in there. We have to, there's all kinds of land schedules and building schedules and cost files that we have to build and monitor. But the system does a lot of the heavy lifting for us.
Are there changes coming down the pike, you think, that will kind of change what you do and what some of your fellow assessors in other communities do?
I think the systems we have in place right now are working really good. There's always room for improvement, I'm sure, and I won't be surprised if things change in the future, but there's nothing in the pipeline that we're aware of that is going to make drastic changes to how we go about our business. And you have to remember that we're doing stuff based on state law, and unless laws change, we have to keep doing things the way we're doing them now.
We're going to wrap this up because I was going to say this, the other thing, which is the last question here. Clearly you're busy. You get a lot of phone calls and a lot of people in a lot of communities kind of looking to you and your team. A lot of reliance on you.
That's true. No, we're happy with that. It's important work, and every town has to do it. There's no getting around it. So there is a lack of assessors. We keep working to invite people into the programs. We have trainings available, but yeah, we stay busy.
I was going to say, when you're working with the best, people want the best, and you certainly are one of the best. You and your team here. We so appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.